Good morning. Today is Thursday, August 22nd, and this is Wake Up with KERA News. Hi there, I'm Andrew Garcia. Temperatures are expected to peak in the high 90s today, and you may even spot a cloud or even two. It's going to be a few degrees cooler, but it's still plenty hot, and today's news shows how that's affecting North Texans. So, as we often do here, I'd like to take a moment to remind you to hydrate and stay safe, especially while you're spending time outdoors. Let's get into it. Delivery drivers gathered outside of a UPS store in McKinney yesterday to protest the conditions they're made to work under. Drivers complain their concerns about the extreme heat aren't being taken seriously. This comes after a recent accident where a driver fainted at the wheel, having warned UPS he wasn't feeling well and allegedly was told to drive back to the facility. An agreement made between UPS and the Teamsters Union that represents most of the protesters stated that UPS would start equipping trucks with AC and other ways to protect against the heat, but most drivers are still waiting on those protections. This heat is bringing water woes to Denton. Denton residents can water their lawns only one day a week now that Stage 2 of the city's drought contingency plan has gone into effect. If you live in Denton, watering schedules depend on your address, with even-numbered addresses watering on Tuesday, odd-numbered on Wednesday, with watering only allowed between 6 and 10 p.m. This observance comes on the heels of the city's utility department exceeding daily water treatment capacity for 3 days in a row while 2 filters are being repaired. Switching up our themes a little bit here, the city of Dallas is considering eliminating parking minimums and instead leaving decisions about parking up to developers. Proponents say the update to the decades-old parking ordinance would cut down on unused space and help the city grow economically. And an environmental and social justice group says it could also improve quality of life. Jay Hamilton is with Sunrise Movement Dallas. He spoke with KERA's Pablo Arauz-Peña about the group's new campaign for the city to prioritize people over parking.
Tell me about Sunrise Movement Dallas's parking reform campaign.
So in cities like San Diego or in Austin, they have moved to eliminate parking minimums. And what that's done is it's reduced the cost actually of rent for people living in the city. And in particular in Dallas, we are a car-dependent city, if you didn't notice, on the freeways, right? And what that looks like is 25% of like our space in the city comes up to parking. So for us, 2 things that we're asking for in that in our parking minimums campaign is to eliminate parking minimum requirements with no exemptions to the current bill, and that these spaces in the future should be used to build affordable housing and create green spaces, because that's the ultimate goal. Like parking minimums, elimination is like the bare minimum.
What does parking reform have to do with climate change?
So if you think about like the way that we think about space right now, right? And the way that we think about space is very car dependent or very consumerism first, right? So in that, right, like people are constantly driving cars, right? That hurts the climate. We need to continue to put different things out that hurts the climate. I mean, even the idea of create concrete, like it costs so much money and takes up so much space to have concrete because that plays into our heat index. Dallas has one of the highest heat indexes in the country and continue to heat up. So you think about the different people living in the city or people who are homeless in the city who are being impacted by heat, who are dying from heat. So to eliminate parking minimums, right, we start to think about the city in a different way, as opposed to being car dependent. What is it like to be walkable?
You've told me that you've had a personal experience with housing and, affordability, I suppose, in Dallas. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so when I was a child, I lived off 75 in Walnut Hill. And, growing up, I mean, I wasn't doing anything on parking or organizing things like that. But living over there in this area, like we had apartments and people lived over there and we could walk to different places. Yeah. But since then, those apartments have, part of them have been like torn down and pushed back to put up storefronts. So now they're like newer, nicer, kind of gentrified storefronts, right? Like, that people can shop at. And then we have parking lots, right? So now, it becomes this thing like the parking lots and shopping becomes the things over the people.
What impact has that had on you?
The city becomes unaffordable to people who lived here. So like for current residents, you can't even live in the city anymore. Like you've been pushed out and you either been pushed out for like consumerism, right? or for folks who aren't even from Dallas to come and live in the city, right? Which we see happening in major metropolitan areas across the country.
Yeah.
But in particular in Dallas, that changes the makeup, right? So different areas or pockets of the city who had these rich traditions either in South Dallas or Deep Ellum in these different areas. I mean, even where I live in North Dallas, right? It just doesn't look like that anymore, right? It looks like people come in to shop in the city, or like the city is for consumerism, or the city is for like, entertainment. Whereas this used to be a place where people like lived, thrived, and did all their things in one space.
If the city does decide to eliminate and reduce parking minimums, in other words, if your campaign is successful, what comes next?
Yeah, so I mean, once we can eliminate parking minimums, because we will win this campaign, just putting that out there, we're just going to continue to keep organizing, right? And what that looks like is working with folks in the city, working with other organizations in the city to continue to provide support to find a city that we want. So like our ultimate goal is to have affordable homes in a walkable city. So if we're no longer thinking about like parking lots, like what does it look like to reuse that space for a home, or reuse that space to make walkable that people can have access, or expand on a light rail, or expand when we aren't car dependent, we can be people, right? People over parking. And that's what we're thinking about in this space.
That was KERA's Pablo Arauz-Peña speaking with Jay Hamilton of Sunrise Movement Dallas. The price of gold is at an all-time high right now. That's according to the Associated Press. It was valued at just over $2,500 per troy ounce, which I'm told is the standard for measuring precious metals. You learn something new every day. That's equivalent to 31 grams. Experts believe the price of gold is up as uncertainty in the economy increases, and banks also have demand for the precious metal as well. Boerne, Texas has punched their ticket to the Little League World Series U.S. Championship game last night, defeating Nevada 5-2. The game was tied early before Texas rattled off 3 runs in the bottom of the third, and that proved to be the difference. Boerne will continue their magical run on Saturday afternoon with a shot at becoming U.S. champs. You can catch the Dallas International Film Festival's Short Film Festival at Angelica this weekend, celebrating short films and the filmmakers who make them. Learn more at kera.org/calendar. And that does it for Wake Up with KERA News. I'm your host, Andrew Garcia. This show was produced and edited by Shardae White and Becca Moore. For more news in your inbox, visit kera.org/wakeup. That's where you can subscribe to the Wake Up with KERA News newsletter and get more news you need from our colleague Catherine Hobbs. Connect with us on Facebook, Threads, and Instagram at KERATX. And we'll see you tomorrow.